Ravi was a kind and humble man. He owned a small chain of restaurants that people in the city loved to visit. His restaurants were known for tasty food and friendly service. But Ravi was not just a businessman. He remembered the days when he started with nothing. He worked hard and never forgot the values of honesty and respect. For years, his restaurants had good customers and happy workers. But lately, Ravi heard some worrying news. A few customers complained about the way staff treated them. They said the food was not always fresh, and some workers were rude. Ravi did not want to believe these stories. He wanted to see the truth for himself. One morning, Ravi looked in the mirror. He thought, if I go as the owner, the staff will behave nicely. They will hide the real problems. To know the truth, I must be one of the customers. He made a plan. He would visit one of his restaurants without telling anyone who he really was. Ravi wanted to look different. He grew a small beard and did not shave for a few days. He wore an old, loose shirt and a pair of worn-out sandals. He even put on a cap to cover his head. He wanted no one to recognize him. When he left his house, the sun was bright and the city was busy. Ravi felt a little nervous. He wondered what he would find at his restaurant. Would the food be good? Would the workers be kind? Or had things changed for the worse? Ravi walked slowly toward the restaurant. It was one of the oldest branches. The building looked a little dirty. The paint on the walls was faded. The windows were not very clean. Ravi stopped for a moment and took a deep breath. This was his restaurant, the place he built with hard work and love. As he entered, the smell was different from what he remembered. It was not the fresh aroma of spices and cooked food. Instead, there was a strange smell. It was faint, but enough to make him feel uneasy. Ravi looked around. The tables were not arranged neatly. Some chairs were broken. The floor had small bits of food and dust. The walls had some marks and stains. It was not the warm and welcoming place he had hoped to see. A young man was behind the counter. Ravi noticed the man's tired eyes and careless attitude. The man did not smile. Instead, he looked at Ravi like he was a troublemaker. Ravi walked up to the counter. "Hello," he said softly. "Can I see the menu, please?" The man barely looked up and said, "Menu is on the board." He pointed to a small blackboard on the wall. The writing was messy and hard to read. Ravi walked to the blackboard and read the items. Some dishes were missing. The prices were different from before. Ravi felt a small pang in his heart. Was this really his restaurant? He returned to the counter and said, "I will have the day's special, please." The young man rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, sit anywhere." Ravi found a small table in the corner. The chair was old and a little shaky. He sat down quietly, watching the staff move around. The other workers did not greet him. They spoke loudly to each other, sometimes laughing or whispering. Ravi felt invisible. No one came to ask if he needed anything. After a few minutes, a waiter brought a glass of water. It was half full and the glass had some spots. Ravi took a small sip. The water tasted normal, but the glass did not look clean. Then, the food arrived. Ravi looked at the plate. The rice looked a little wet and sticky, not fluffy as it should be. The curry had a strange color. The smell was not fresh. Ravi took a small bite, trying to hide his reaction. His stomach turned. The food was spoiled. He knew it immediately. Ravi put down his spoon and looked around. The staff were busy talking and not paying attention to customers. One woman was cleaning a table with an old rag. Another man was cutting vegetables carelessly. Ravi felt a mix of sadness and anger. This was not the place he dreamed of. He had worked hard to create something good for the city, but now it seemed broken. He remembered the stories of customers who complained. Maybe they were right. The staff did not care anymore. They treated customers like they were a bother. But Ravi was not ready to give up. He wanted to understand why things had changed. Who was responsible? What could be done? He decided to stay a little longer and watch quietly. He wanted to see everything with his own eyes. As he sat there, he thought about the workers. Maybe some were honest and scared. Maybe some were forced to do wrong things. Ravi hoped there were still good people in his restaurant. His heart was heavy, but he felt a small hope inside. This was not the end. It was just the beginning of a new journey. Ravi looked at the door, waiting for the manager to come. He needed to speak to the person in charge. He needed answers. The sun outside was setting slowly. The restaurant was about to close for the day. But for Ravi, the real work was just starting. Ravi sat quietly at his small table in the corner of the restaurant. The plate with the spoiled food sat in front of him. He did not want to make a scene. He wanted to understand what had gone wrong. But his heart was heavy, and his mind was full of questions. He looked around again. The staff were busy with their work, but something was different. There was no joy in their faces. No pride in their work. It was as if they were just doing a job, without caring what happened to the customers. After a few minutes, a tall man with a frown on his face came out from the kitchen. He looked at Ravi and asked, "Are you ready to order, or what?" Ravi looked up and smiled gently. "I already ordered the special. I am waiting for it." The man looked at him strangely. "You're not from here, right? Are you a new customer?" Ravi nodded. "Yes, I am. I heard good things about this place and wanted to try the food." The man scoffed. "Good things? Maybe in the past. Now, it's not so good." Ravi was surprised to hear this from a staff member. He thought, if even the workers think like this, what does that say about the restaurant? The man walked away with a small shrug. Ravi noticed the other staff looking at him strangely, whispering among themselves. He felt like an outsider in his own restaurant. Just then, a young woman came to his table. She looked nervous and was holding a menu. "Hello, sir. Can I help you?" she asked softly. Ravi smiled. "Thank you. I am waiting for the special." She looked around nervously. "I am sorry. The special is not available today. We have some other dishes, if you want." Ravi nodded. "Okay. Please bring me whatever is best." She hurried away. Ravi watched the kitchen door. He saw the manager enter. The manager was a man in his 40s, wearing a clean shirt and black pants. But his face was stern, and his eyes did not smile. Ravi waited until the manager came to the counter. Then, he stood up and walked slowly toward him. The manager noticed Ravi and frowned. "Can I help you?" he asked. Ravi looked at him calmly. "Yes, I want to talk to you about the restaurant." The manager looked surprised but said, "Sure. What do you want to know?" Ravi hesitated for a moment. He wanted to speak carefully. "I am a new customer. But I feel the service and food are not as good as I expected." The manager laughed softly. "Well, sir, things change. We have many customers, and we do our best." Ravi nodded. "I understand. But why does the food taste spoiled? And why are the staff so cold to customers?" The manager's smile disappeared. "Who told you that? We do not sell spoiled food." Ravi felt a little angry, but he stayed calm. "I tasted it myself." The manager's face turned red. "You don't know how to appreciate real work. If you don't like it, you can leave." Ravi wanted to say more, but he held back. He did not want to lose control. He turned and walked back to his table. The staff were watching him closely now. He could feel their eyes. A few moments later, the young woman from before came back with a plate. It was a small serving of rice and curry. Ravi looked at it carefully. The smell was better this time, but still not fresh. He took a small bite and tried to smile. "Thank you," he said. The woman smiled back, but it was a weak smile. She looked worried. Ravi wanted to talk to her. He stood up and gently said, "Can I speak to you for a moment?" She nodded and followed him to a quieter corner. "My name is Ravi," he said softly. "I want to understand. Why is the food not good? Why are the workers unhappy?" The woman looked down. "I'm Renu. I work in the kitchen. It is not easy here. The manager is strict. If we complain, he gets angry." Ravi listened carefully. "Is the food spoiled because of him?" Renu nodded. "Yes. He tells us to use old ingredients to save money. Sometimes, he sells the fresh supplies to other places. We don't want to do this, but we are afraid to lose our jobs." Ravi felt a pain in his chest. He looked at Renu and said, "Thank you for telling me. You are brave." Renu smiled a little. "I want this place to be good again. But I don't know how." Ravi put his hand on her shoulder. "We will find a way. I promise." At that moment, Ravi understood the real problem was not just spoiled food. It was fear and silence. The workers were trapped. They wanted to do the right thing but were scared. Ravi knew he had to do something. Not only for the customers but for the workers like Renu. He looked around once more. The restaurant was quiet now, with only a few customers left. The sun outside was setting, and the day was ending. Ravi took a deep breath. He was not just an owner now. He was someone who had to protect the values of his business. He had to bring back honesty and care. As he stood up, he knew this was only the beginning. There was a long road ahead, but he was ready to walk it. Ravi sat back at his small table, feeling a mixture of sadness and determination. His heart was heavy because he loved this restaurant. It was his dream, the place he had built from nothing. But now, it felt like a stranger's place. The cold welcome, the spoiled food, it all hurt deeply. He looked again at the plate in front of him. The rice was sticky, and the curry smelled sour. He tried to hide his disappointment. He had to keep his calm. No one must know he was the owner. Ravi wanted to understand more. He looked at the busy kitchen door. The cooks were rushing, but they didn't seem careful. He saw a worker drop some vegetables on the floor and pick them up again. He saw a few spoons left in dirty water. It was not clean. It was careless. Ravi remembered when he used to work here as a young man. Every grain of rice was important. Every curry was made with love. But now, it was just a job. Nothing more. Then, a waiter came to the table. His name was Deepak. He looked tired and annoyed. Ravi asked politely, "Is this food fresh today?" Deepak rolled his eyes and said, "Fresh? It's as fresh as it gets. What do you want?" Ravi smiled gently. "I want to know if this is good for customers." Deepak laughed loudly. "Customers? We don't care much. They pay, and we serve. That's all." Ravi felt his stomach twist. This was the truth. The workers did not care. They did not respect the customers. They were only here for money. He tried the food again, but it made him feel sick. The curry was sour, and the rice was old. How could they serve this? How could they be so careless? Suddenly, Ravi heard some voices. A group of customers was talking loudly near the entrance. They looked upset. One woman said, "I don't know what happened. The food tastes bad. The service is slow. I won't come here again." Another man added, "I used to love this place. Now it feels different. Like they don't care." Ravi's heart sank. These were his customers. The people who believed in his restaurants. He stood up quietly and walked toward the kitchen door. He wanted to see what was happening inside. As he peeked inside, he saw the manager, the stern man he had spoken to earlier. The manager was talking to a few staff members. His voice was low but sharp. "We need to save money," the manager said. "Don't waste food. Use old ingredients if you must. No one will know." Ravi's eyes widened. This was the reason for the spoiled food. The manager was asking the staff to use old and bad ingredients to save money. He also saw some staff members nodding, some looking scared. They did not want to do this, but they had no choice. Ravi felt anger rise inside him. This was not right. He could not let this continue. He took a deep breath and walked back to his table. Suddenly, a young woman came to sit near him. It was Renu, the kitchen worker he had spoken to earlier. She looked worried and said softly, "Sir, I want to tell you something." Ravi smiled kindly. "Please, tell me." Renu took a deep breath. "Many of us want to do good work. But the manager pressures us. If we don't listen, he threatens to fire us." Ravi nodded. "I understand. It must be hard." "Yes," she said. "We don't want to lose our jobs, but we don't want to lie to customers either." Ravi's heart went out to her and the others. They were trapped between fear and honesty. He said gently, "You are brave to speak the truth. I promise I will help." Renu smiled for the first time. "Thank you, sir." Ravi felt hope grow inside him. Maybe this was not a lost cause. Maybe he could change things. But first, he had to see more. He left his table and walked through the restaurant. He noticed a few staff members whispering and looking at him strangely. They did not know who he was. They only saw a customer who asked too many questions. Ravi stopped near the counter and quietly asked the cashier, "Do you know if the supplies here are fresh?" The cashier, a young man, looked nervous. He shook his head. "No, sir. The manager sells fresh supplies to other places. We get what is left." Ravi was shocked. Selling fresh supplies and keeping spoiled food for customers was not just careless. It was dishonest. He asked quietly, "Why don't you tell the owner?" The cashier lowered his eyes. "We are afraid. The manager is powerful. He can fire anyone." Ravi felt a deep sadness. The staff were afraid of speaking up, and the customers were being cheated. He thanked the cashier and walked back to his table. He sat down and looked at the spoiled food again. This was not just a problem with the kitchen. It was a problem of trust and fear. Ravi made a decision. He would not let this continue. He would find out the truth and make things right. For the customers. For the workers. For himself. As the sun set outside, Ravi felt a new strength inside him. This was not just about food. It was about respect, honesty, and courage. He was ready to take the next step. Ravi's heart was heavy with what he had seen so far. The spoiled food, the rude staff, and the manager's orders to use old ingredients. It was worse than he had imagined. But there was one thing he knew for sure: the problem was bigger than just bad food. He decided to stay a little longer, hoping to learn more. He wanted to see everything with his own eyes. Ravi sat quietly at his table, watching the staff. Some of them moved quickly, cleaning tables or taking orders. But many looked tired and unhappy. There was no joy in their work. A few customers sat quietly, eating their meals. Some whispered to each other, and others looked around with disappointment. Ravi felt sorry for them. They deserved better. Suddenly, he saw a young woman carrying a large basket of vegetables. It was Renu, the kind worker he had spoken to earlier. She looked tired but tried to smile. Ravi stood up and walked to her. Renu, he said softly. Can you show me the kitchen? I want to understand more. Renu looked surprised but nodded. Yes, sir. Follow me. She led him through a small door at the back of the restaurant. The kitchen was busy and noisy. Pots boiled, and cooks shouted orders. But the place was not clean. There were spills on the floor, and some old food lay in corners. Ravi looked around carefully. Is this normal? He asked. Renu shook her head. No. We try to keep it clean, but the manager does not give us enough supplies. Sometimes, he tells us to use leftovers from the day before. Ravi's eyes widened. Leftovers? That is not safe. Renu sighed. We know, but we are scared to say no. The manager says if we don't follow his orders, we will lose our jobs. Ravi's heart ached. He remembered how hard he had worked to build this business. He had never wanted anyone to be afraid here. Suddenly, Ravi saw something that shocked him even more. One of the workers was pouring some leftover curry into a large pot. The curry looked old and smelled bad. Then, the worker scooped the curry into small bowls and sent them to the tables. Ravi felt sick. This was the spoiled food the customers had eaten. He turned to Renu and said, "This is very wrong. You and the others should not have to do this." Renu looked down sadly. We want to do good work, but the manager controls everything. Ravi thought for a moment. What about the fresh ingredients? Where do they go? Renu looked around nervously. The manager sells the fresh supplies to other shops nearby. We get only what is left. Ravi was shocked. Selling fresh food and giving spoiled food to customers was dishonest and dangerous. He asked quietly, "Have you told anyone else?" The owner, maybe. Renu shook her head. No one knows. We are afraid of losing our jobs. Ravi nodded. He understood their fear. But he also knew that silence would only make things worse. He said gently, "Renu, I am the owner. I came here to see what was happening. I want to help you." Renu looked surprised. You are the owner? Ravi smiled. Yes. I did not want to scare you. But now you know the truth. Renu's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, sir. I want to do the right thing, but I need help. Ravi put his hand on her shoulder. You will have my help. Together, we can make this place better. He decided to talk to more workers. Maybe others were also afraid but wanted to change. Ravi walked through the kitchen again. He saw a few workers hiding, whispering to each other. He spoke softly, "If anyone wants to talk to me, I am here to listen. No one will be punished for telling the truth." One by one, some workers came forward. They told Ravi stories of fear, pressure, and unfair treatment. Some were forced to work extra hours without pay. Others were scolded for small mistakes. Ravi listened carefully. He took notes in his small notebook. He realized the problems were deep. But he also saw hope. Many workers wanted to be honest and do good work. They just needed someone to trust. After talking to the workers, Ravi sat down again. He felt tired but determined. He thought about the customers. They came here because they trusted his restaurants. They wanted good food and respect. Ravi knew he had to act fast. He could not let the manager continue to harm the business and hurt the people who worked there. He made a promise to himself, he would fix this. He would bring back honesty, care, and respect. But first, he had to find proof and speak to the manager. The sun outside was setting, and the restaurant was almost empty. Ravi looked around one last time. This was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. The restaurant was quiet now, with only a few workers cleaning and getting ready to close. The evening sun cast long shadows across the dusty floor. Ravi sat in his corner, his mind full of thoughts. He had learned a lot today, too much, really. The spoiled food, the scared workers, the manager's orders to save money at all costs. It was all clear now. But Ravi knew something else was waiting for him, the manager. He had to face the man who had allowed everything to fall apart. He had to stop this from happening again. After a few moments, the manager came out of the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He looked tired but still held the air of control. When he saw Ravi, his eyes narrowed slightly. "Can I help you?" the manager asked, his voice sharp. Ravi stood up slowly and smiled calmly. "Yes. I want to talk to you about the restaurant." The manager folded his arms and said, "What about it?" "Everything is running fine." Ravi shook his head. "No, it's not fine. I know what's been happening here. The spoiled food, the poor service, the fear among the staff, I have seen it all." The manager's face turned red. "Who told you these lies?" Ravi took a step closer. "I saw it with my own eyes. I spoke to the workers. They are afraid because of you. You force them to use old ingredients and sell the fresh ones." The manager laughed bitterly. "You don't know how business works. We have to save money. If I don't do this, the restaurant will lose money." Ravi's eyes narrowed. "Saving money is important. But not at the cost of honesty and health. You are risking the reputation of this restaurant and the trust of our customers." The manager's voice became cold. "I don't answer to customers. I answer to profits. If you want to complain, go ahead. But don't expect me to change." Ravi stood firm. "I am the owner. And I will change this." The manager sneered. "Good luck with that." Ravi's heart was heavy, but he did not back down. "I want you to explain why you treat the workers so badly." The manager's face hardened. "They get paid. That's all they need to know. If they want respect, they can find another job." Ravi felt anger rising inside. But he kept his voice calm. "Respect is more than money. It is about how you treat people." The manager shook his head. "You're wasting your time." Ravi looked around. He saw the workers watching from a distance, their faces full of fear and hope. He knew this was a moment that would change everything. "I will fix this place," Ravi said softly. "Starting tomorrow, things will be different." The manager laughed again. "You think you can change me? You don't know what you're up against." Ravi smiled. "Maybe. But I know I have the support of the workers and the customers. And that is stronger than fear." The manager looked at him for a moment. Then he turned and walked away, slamming the kitchen door behind him. Ravi felt a mixture of relief and worry. The fight had begun. After the manager left, Ravi called Renu and a few workers to his table. "I want to thank you for your courage today," he said. "I know it is not easy to speak up." Renu smiled shyly. "We want to do good work, sir. We just need a chance." Ravi nodded. "You will have that chance. Tomorrow, we start fresh. I will bring in new supplies, and no one will be forced to do wrong." The workers looked at each other and then at Ravi. There was hope in their eyes for the first time. Ravi knew this was just the beginning. The manager would not give up easily. But with the workers' trust and his own determination, he believed they could make the restaurant better again. That night, as Ravi left the restaurant, he felt a new strength inside him. He was not just the owner anymore. He was a protector of his dream. And tomorrow was a new day. The next morning, Ravi arrived at the restaurant early. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in soft pink and orange colors. The air was fresh, and for the first time in a long time, Ravi felt hope. He walked inside and saw Renu and a few other workers already preparing for the day. Their faces looked tired but also determined. They had heard the conversation from the night before and were waiting to see if things would really change. Ravi smiled and said, "Good morning. Today, everything will be different. I have ordered fresh supplies, and no one will be asked to use spoiled food anymore." The workers looked at each other and then at Ravi. Renu nodded slowly. "We want to believe that, sir. We want to work honestly." Ravi felt his heart warm. "Then let's start together." He called a short meeting with all the staff before the restaurant opened. Ravi spoke clearly, "I am here to bring back honesty and respect. From today, we will serve only fresh, good food. No one should feel afraid. If you see anything wrong, tell me. I will listen." There was silence at first. Then, a few workers nodded. Some smiled. It was a small start, but it meant a lot. Ravi went to the kitchen with Renu. Fresh vegetables, rice, and spices had arrived. The smell of fresh ingredients filled the air. It was a good sign. Ravi watched the workers carefully as they prepared meals. They worked with more care and pride than before. It was like the old days. Ravi felt happy. He wanted the customers to feel this care too. Soon, the restaurant opened for business. The first customers arrived, some curious and some loyal. Ravi greeted them warmly and promised to make their experience better. Ravi noticed that the staff were smiling more. They greeted customers with respect. The food smelled fresh and looked delicious. One by one, the customers began to enjoy their meals. Some came back to thank Ravi for the change. An elderly man said, "I used to love this place, but I stopped coming because of the bad food. Today, it feels like home again." "Thank you." Ravi smiled and felt proud. But not everything was easy. The manager from before was still there. He watched from a distance, his face dark and angry. Ravi knew the manager would not give up without a fight. Later that day, the manager called Ravi to the office. "You are making a mistake," he said coldly. "If you continue like this, the restaurant will lose money. You don't understand business." Ravi looked at him calmly. "I understand that honesty is good business. Customers come back when they trust us." The manager shook his head. "You're too soft. You don't know how to run a business." Ravi stood firm. "I want to run this business with respect and care. That is the only way." The manager sneered and left the room. Ravi knew he had made his choice clear. That evening, the workers gathered around Ravi. They thanked him for the new start. Renu said, "We believe in you, sir. We want to work hard and make this place great." Ravi smiled. "And I will be here with you every step of the way." As the restaurant closed for the day, Ravi felt tired but happy. The road ahead would be long and full of challenges. But for the first time, he believed in a better future. He looked out at the night sky and whispered, "This is just the beginning." Days turned into weeks, and the small restaurant began to change in ways Ravi had only hoped for. The fresh food, honest workers, and welcoming atmosphere started to bring back old customers and even attract new ones. Word spread quickly that the place was different now, better. Ravi watched all this with a proud heart. The smile on his workers' faces told him they felt valued again. The customers who once looked disappointed now left with full plates and happy hearts. But change was not easy. The manager, whose name was Prakash, did not give up. He watched from the sidelines, waiting for a chance to take control again. His anger grew, but Ravi did not fear him anymore. One afternoon, Prakash called Ravi into the office again. This time, his tone was less sharp, almost tired. "You have changed many things," Prakash said quietly. "The restaurant looks better." "But the money," Ravi smiled gently. "Money will come if we do things right. Trust grows with honesty. That is the real profit." Prakash sighed. "Maybe I was wrong. I only wanted to keep the business alive." Ravi nodded. I understand. But we can keep the business alive and strong, with respect. Prakash looked at Ravi and said, I want to help now. Ravi felt surprised but hopeful. We will work together. For the good of the restaurant and everyone who works here. From that day on, Prakash changed too. He stopped pushing the workers to use spoiled food or cut corners. Instead, he helped manage the supplies better. The workers noticed the change and trusted Ravi's leadership more. One evening, Ravi called all the staff together. You have been brave and honest, he said. Because of you, this place is alive again. I want to thank you. Renu stepped forward, her eyes shining. We are happy to work here now. We believe in this place and in you, sir. The workers cheered quietly. It was a small moment, but it meant the world to everyone. Ravi smiled and said, this is not just a restaurant. It is a family. And families take care of each other. The restaurant's success grew day by day. People talked about the good food and friendly service. Ravi made sure every worker felt important and respected. One day, a customer came in with his young daughter. The little girl looked around with big eyes, smiling at the warm colors and smells. The man said to Ravi, thank you. This place reminds me of my childhood. It feels like home. Ravi felt a deep joy. This was why he had started the restaurant, to give people not just food but happiness and comfort. The journey had been hard. There were times when Ravi wanted to give up. But he never forgot why he began. He had seen the truth, faced the challenges, and fought for what was right. Now, he knew the restaurant was more than just a business. It was a place where people could trust, feel safe, and be proud. As the sun set behind the small restaurant one evening, Ravi stood outside and looked at the busy tables filled with happy customers. He smiled to himself and whispered, this is just the beginning of a new path. And with that hope, he walked inside, ready for the days to come.